So, Top Gun Maverick is the long-awaited sequel to Top Gun from the 1980s. And yeah, this film actually joins a long line of long-awaited sequels that return and actually have something more to say. Because the thing is, Top Gun was it was such a campy film. It was never one of the it was always one of those bizarre films that was always ripe for queer theory, and it had an amazing soundtrack, which I still enjoy listening to. But yeah, it was fun in its own weird kind of campy bro-ish kind of way. But yeah, it was something that I felt like I needed to see more of Top Gun. But hey, you never know. If you leave a franchise alone for long enough, then you return to it, you might find something new to explore. And we've seen that happen with Blade Runner and Mad Max Fury Road and several other films. So, yeah, this is another case where if you leave it alone for long enough, and you return to it, and you find something new to do with it. So Tom Cruise is obviously back playing Pete Mitchell, aka Maverick, his call sign, and you better get used to the call signs, because everyone has a different one here, except for one. Well, someone kind of has a call sign, but it's a ridiculous one. But Maverick is still doing his thing. He's still a pilot in the Navy. He's still pissing off admirals. He's still breaking records. He's still defying orders. Still doing all the stuff that Maverick always does. And he shows that off brilliantly in the opening sequence, which after we get a lot of money shots of jets taking off with a familiar song from the previous film, we get to watch Maverick basically just defy orders again, break a speed barrier, and even though all he really has to do is go up to Mach 10, he goes even further, because it's Maverick. They establish it's the same old character. But I like that they get that out of the way immediately to establish who Maverick was, so that they can get to the bigger story of the maturity and the redemption arc that he has to go through. Because the whole deal is that he's called back to Top Gun, but he's called back in to be more of an instructor than an actual fighter pilot. Now don't worry, he's still going to get in the cockpit, and he's still going to fly in the big finale of dogfights and all that. But he's also got to be a teacher. He's got to learn from his mistakes. Particularly, he's got to learn from his mistakes with his former pilot, Goose, who he tragically lost during a mission and left behind a son. And that son grew up to become Rooster. His name was Bradley Bradshaw, which is an unfortunate name, so we're just going to go with Rooster. That suits him better. Played by Miles Teller. And yeah, he actually does a pretty good job. Teller plays a character who's very much conflicted about his father's past, but also willing to kind of prove himself. He can sense there's fear in him, but also that but also that he wants to prove himself and go above and beyond, basically be as cool as Maverick. And at the same time, Maverick actually wants to look out for Rooster and kind of be the father figure that Rooster didn't have when he was growing up. So he has to teach him all that, and also basically teach him and the other pilots not to die. Because they're faced with a fairly impossible mission where they don't expect anyone to come back from. Now, if you're curious what the mission is about on a geopolitical level, they don't really go much into it. Basically, all you got to know is there's a secret base somewhere in the mountains, in some region, which they don't name, and some enemy, which they don't refer to very much, and they don't show their faces at all, have stolen a bunch of old jets and have a nuclear device. And basically, yeah, Top Gun has to navigate around all the defenses and the other jet fighters and blow up the space. And yeah, here's the thing. It would kind of bother me because they keep talking about this mission the whole time. It's the one important thing that everyone has to accomplish here. But you may be asking yourself once or twice, wait, who are they fighting? Where are they? You assume because of the snowy climate, it's probably Russia. You would assume, but they keep that off. That they don't try to make it about the enemy. And the thing is, that's a good thing to cut out of this, mostly because it doesn't really matter. The film itself is more about just seeing jets do cool stuff and Maverick getting a redemption arc. It doesn't really have room for like a bigger political stage or a bigger political story here about basically like U.S. Navy relations like with other militaries. It doesn't have time for that, and that's a good thing because it probably wouldn't put much focus on it, which is fine because because honestly, like the character interactions here are really great, especially with I also like the fact that Maverick also is trying to get back into the dating scene. He finds himself fascinated with Penny, this local bar owner played by Jennifer Connelly. She's a single mother and she runs her bar kind of like feisty, like she can handle someone like Maverick. In fact, she kind of like walks over Maverick when he comes in to order drinks and like basically bullies him into buying rounds for like the whole bar. And they have like this great little camaraderie. Like you can sense there's like an equal amount of like sass and love between them that they bond over. But here's the thing. They mostly do bonding either through at the bar or on a motorcycle or a really cool sequence on a sailboat, which is really amazing. Which, yeah, we got to mention this because I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, are the jet scenes cool? Because let's face it, a lot of people are not going to be coming to Top Gun Maverick because they want to see more about the character of Maverick. They might, but most people are coming for the cool jet footage. And the great news is, like, you get a lot of jet footage, and all of it looks amazing. The film was directed by Joseph Kosinski, who previously did Tron Legacy, and my God, he knows how to shoot these sequences. He knows how to find just the perfect shot and how to dice it up just right. Because, like, the thing with, like, a lot of, like, older films that would tend to focus on how cool it is that we actually, like if it was, like, a racing film, like, you know, how long do you hold on the car? Or, like, you know, a film like Top Gun, how long do you hold on footage? And Kosinski finds, like, just the right amount of time and just the perfect shots to hold on. Like in particular, the first training sequence that we go through with Maverick and the other pilots is perfectly like quick cut. It's just like, you know, like you got to be quick on your toes, and if you screw up, then you're done for. And the editing is so tight on this. It is so crisp and perfect. Like it never bores you with how long you're up in the air. Like it always jumps to just the right scene at just the right moment. Like, I mean, a lot of credit needs to be given to Eddie Hamilton here, the guy who was editing this, because the cutting on this is just so perfect. Because the thing is, like, yeah, for the most part, like I do like the redemption arc, and I do like a lot of the characters they establish here. But the big draw is going to be all the jet fighter sequences, and thankfully they're the best part. Like if you're going to spend a whole film just showing me a bunch of jets and how cool they are, and not really focus that much on the enemy that they're fighting or the greater context of why they're fighting, then just show me cool stuff. And that's what the film does, and it does it so well. It matches this mantra of the film, which is there's a running gag throughout the film that Tom Cruise always stares in silence at someone, and they always reply back, "Don't give me that look." And Cruise just responds, "That's the only look I got." And it's the same thing with Top Gun Maverick. Like, this film just keeps showing you cool jet footage, or if it's not doing that, it's showing you a motorcycle sequence or a sailboat sequence. Basically, it's a popular mechanic's wet dream. And that's the only thing, if that's the only thing it knows how to do, it does it so well, you know? But credit where credit is due. There is more to it than just cool sequences in the sky. It's more than just the great visual eye candy. Like I said, I do like Cruise's arc here. He does have a natural charisma where you do buy the romance between him and Connolly and the fatherly influence that he has with Teller. That's all there. But also just the general interactions, like John Hamm plays a new vice admiral who does a lot of the chewing out. Ed Harris is a rear admiral who does... You sense that he's getting tired of chewing out Maverick, so he's kind of like passing the baton off to John Hamm on this one. And then probably one of the more like emotional castings, which I think works so well, is you have Val Kilmer returning to Iceman, who's moved on from being a pilot and became an admiral. Who I believe I think he's like a 4-star admiral. I think he's retired at this point. Because the thing is, like, for those who don't know, Kilmer, he's been having a lot of like health problems. He can barely speak right now. He speaks through like, I think like a little like microphone on him. They cover a lot of this, and there's a great documentary out there called Val, which covers Val Kilmer's entire career up to this point and shows you how he's kind of like how his health has deteriorated. And I thought for sure they were just going to use him very sparingly, like Iceman wasn't going to be that big of a deal in the film. But surprisingly, he actually becomes much more of the heart of this film. Like you kind of feel like he's the one who's kind of matured a lot more than Maverick, and has kind of like figured out this pilot and how to push him in the right direction. So he actually instigates a lot of what happens here. Like he's the one who pushes him towards Rooster. He's the one who convinces him to keep teaching. He's the one who convinces him to have faith in the future. That by the time we get to like their big reunion, when they come together and actually try to like have a chat, it works like surprisingly well. And it's treated like very respectfully, and I think this is probably the best version of Iceman that you could have in a Top Gun sequel. So I think they really nailed that. Other members of the cast, they really do a good job here. I really did like, let's see if I can find in my notes here. Glenn Powell plays Hangman, who's basically the cocky pilot that Maverick has to work against. The other thing too, like I'll mention briefly, is that there's a lot of flashbacks to the original film, but only when it suits the narrative and it wants you to remember something. Like in particular, there's a sequence at the bar where Tom Cruise is seeing like all the young pilots that he's going to be training, and they're all like singing along, like Rooster's playing on the piano and they're singing, and Maverick has a flashback to when that was him in there doing that, and it's perfect. It's perfectly used here because like they do show like the pathos that came with him with Goose, and then the camaraderie that they had before and how he's got to recapture it. So then when you have like other pilots who come into play, like with Glenn Powell playing Hangman, named that way because he'll leave you hanging and doesn't work well with others. It's Maverick realizing, look, I've got to, I can't just be the cocky guy here. I got to take some responsibility, and I've got to, train these pilots right, or else no one's coming back alive. Monica Barbaro, I think I'm saying that name correctly, did a great job as Phoenix, who kind of has a lot of sass to her character. But I also really loved her her WSO, whose call sign is just Bob. Let me see if I could find it. Like, which is great. Everyone was making this joke, like, because they had like character posters for the film, and they showed all their call signs, like Rooster and Phoenix and Warlock and Coyote, and then you just have Bob. Played by Louis Pullman, and he's just like he's so adorable. He's like the little mascot of the group that you want to pull for, and you really hope that like Bob will end up being the hero here. So there's a lot of I mean, like for having like the flashbacks and stuff like that, because I know like some people be turned off by that. The narrative at play here actually works fairly well for what they're trying to set up here. The footage itself looks amazing. Like I said, all the scenes in the air, all the dogfights, they're intense. They're cut just right. They know when to use visual effects and they know when not to. They know how to maintain your attention, so you're not just like looking at a full minute of like jet fighter footage just because they had that footage and they got to use every spec they had. You can feel like the intensity, and especially like when you're watching this in like we were watching the IMAX screening of this, and it was very eye-popping. Like you just lose yourself in it so easily. The other mantra that relates to the film is they keep bringing up the kind of like the training mantra, which is don't think, just do it. Which, here's the thing, every time they did this, usually when they say don't think, just do it, they will say the first part, like just don't think, and then leave almost kind of like a pregnant pause waiting for like the next part for you to fill it in. And my mind just kept drawing to Enter the Dragon, where Bruce Lee just says like don't think, feel. And I just I'm sorry, like I just like kept thinking that might. But hey, you know what? If Top Gun Maverick is gonna quote Enter the Dragon, which I don't think they were trying to do, hey, why not? Enter the Dragon's a great movie, and hey, for this film just being like a whole bunch of cool jet sequences and having a fairly good redemption arc for like an aged, reckless pilot, it works surprisingly well. There's a lot of there's enough going on here, enough excitement that you're not going to be questioning that much why they don't address who the enemy is and why that might be a little bit concerning. But hey, if you want to distract from that, if you want a good distraction, that the best way to do that is to find cool sequences, and there are so many in Top Gun Maverick. This is just a good looking film, and it's a lot of fun. And perfectly written too in a lot of parts, like it's and expertly edited, just all around, just a very, very, very fun experience, I think.